Good afternoon, everybody. And another sunny day, even though we did just have torrential rain and now we've got totally blue skies. Who'd have thought it? And that's why we live in England and talk about the weather all the time because it changes so much. So that's good. Right. So what have we had this week? Lots of settlement agreements, actually. Lots and lots and lots. I say lots, 5, which actually is quite a lot in 1 week. The thing with settlement agreements is that we strongly recommend that if the person you're trying to part a company with has at least one protected characteristic, and they do have sort of different weightings. So a disability like a cancer diagnosis, that would be a very important one to then sort out with the settlement agreement. But if it is just gender, being female, probably not that much danger of a claim. It usually needs to be age that they're claimed for, age discrimination, racial discrimination, disability discrimination, something like that. So, and people who've been in the club for 20 years and never been managed, and we all know people like that, they get away with murder. I mean, why wouldn't they? They've never had any consequences to their actions. So of course they're going to get away with murder. But then you want to part company, that's the best way to do it. That said, I had a phone call today with a non-client. He's got an issue with his clubhouse manager, who is also a chef. And chefs are not renowned for their politeness, but this guy is actually making people cry, and he seems to delight in it. It is always interesting when you're talking, and obviously I'm reading the room here, when you're talking to a man about a man's bad behavior, okay, invariably the statement comes, oh, but he doesn't realize his effect on people. It's like, okay, but this is a grown man, 40 odd, who has made his staff cry in front of him. If you have made your staff cry and you didn't want to do that, then obviously you would do something to resolve it. If you are happy with them doing that, then you don't change your behavior. But you cannot claim that you didn't know that they were going to cry or that they haven't cried if they're doing it in front of you and you're to say, oh, well, he doesn't realize. Yes, he does. Everybody else realizes. And I'm going to say, you never hear that statement about females. It's never, oh, she didn't realize the impact. It's always, she did that deliberately. And with men, it's like, oh, they didn't realize they weren't supposed to touch people on the breast, or they weren't supposed to say, you're really fat, or it's always, they don't realize. It's like they're 40 years old. And, I thought men were in charge of everything. So you'd think they'd sort of kind of work out what they're supposed to say or not say. And if he's choosing to make people cry, he needs to go. Now, this guy is under 2 years. He does have a long notice period. I'm going to say it's just so frustrating. You do not need a chef on a 3-month notice period, because the only time that ever gets relevant is when you are firing them, because they can leave at any point and you can do nothing about it. So saying they've got 3 months makes no difference whether they stay or they work 3 months. So, and actually, if they've resigned, you don't want the spitting in the food. So there you go. But when you're trying to get rid of them, you have to then pay that 3 months. Now, my advice was, right, okay, so you need to fire this person. They've got no protected characteristic. They're a white male, 40 odd, no disabilities, nothing. You can just say, it's not working out. Here's your 3 months notice, off you go. That was not going to happen, quite clearly, because he's also a member of the club. Of course, he's a member of the club. Please don't employ members of the club. Please don't allow employees to become members of the club, because then when you have to fire them for bad behavior, they still turn up as members, and then you've got to do a member disciplinary. And as we all know, members don't like disciplining members because, well, it might be me next. Well, it won't be if you don't do something stupid. So it's like, don't employ members as employees. You got employees, members, never the twain should meet. Okay, that's what you want to do. So I'm like, we need to get rid of him. Well, yeah, but he is a member and he's got friends who are members and they're a little group. And actually, I'm a little bit scared of them and they'll make my life difficult and I won't be able to play golf. Okay, so it's all right that all your staff are crying in the kitchen, that's not a consideration. You're quite happy with not having a safe working environment, but you're more worried about the fact that they might be nasty to you on the golf course, which would interrupt your round of golf at your golf club. That's your priority. Well, yeah, but they've also beaten up people, so they might beat me up. Yes. I mean, that's always an option, I guess, that people could beat you up. Or he could say, great, I've got some money and I've left, and you never know. But it's still not an excuse for not doing something. You have your staff in tears. You had the chef coming in this morning saying, I sat at my breakfast table and I cried because I didn't want to come in. And you know that, and you're still going, yeah, but he's going to be angry if we do this. Why are we worried about him? I appreciate there's always that risk assessment, but you have to get rid of him. If he's nasty after that, at least he's not on the club premises as an employee, and you can block a member because it's private property. So I'm going to say it's usually we have these conversations when it's about sexual harassment. There's nothing sexual. It's just he's horrible to them and shouts at them and calls them names. And it's like, just does that. You have to deal with it, and you have to deal with it quickly because this guy is still under 2 years. He's got another few months. But actually, it turns out when we're talking to the club manager that actually there were incidents a year ago, that they decided not to act on because they thought it was just a personality clash between a female and a male, and the female's now gone off on maternity leave. And it's like, why do you give them so many chances and let it get so bad before you do anything? It's so frustrating because we could have dealt with it really easily, and to let your staff be in a state of fear and panic because you are afraid of telling somebody to get lost. It's like, you shouldn't be in the role. You shouldn't be in the role. Nobody is in a management role to do the nice stuff. We're all in management roles to do the not nice stuff. And much as that is not great and nobody looks forward to it, that is what you're paid for. You're not paid to do the nice stuff. You are paid to deal with the difficult situations. And if you're not willing to do that, you shouldn't be in a management position. You should go and find a different job, because it's almost criminal, the negligence that is being tolerated because somebody is a little bit scared of another guy. It's like, well, then go somewhere else and let somebody else do it. In fact, I'll come in and do it. I'm not a problem. I'm not scared. Try it. I've got my taser. I will taser you. Anyway, so that was my little bit of a rant today. Questions? Melanie Pointer, you usually have a question. You do.
So I've got a guy, we talk about this, who weirdly, his girlfriend left because we had this exodus of people going to a certain place. He then substituted himself, or she did, for his position, and I wasn't sure about him. So I put him on I wanted to do 0 hours, but he said no. So I put him on I think a 3-month contract, or it might be 4-month contract. He's got an appraisal later this afternoon, and I know the question is going to come up again about, can I have a full-time contract, and how's this and how's that. I still feel I don't want to commit long term. Can I not just say, well, I'll extend it for a month because I need to see how we're doing in the business and that sort of thing? Or how should I handle that question?
Well, there's two different things there. There's full-time and there's permanent. So if I think
it's full-time and permanent. So he's on 35 hours. So he would be, but it's this fixed contract, but he would be looking to have that as an ongoing contract.
I'm going to say that there's not much advantage to a fixed-term contract other than that they know that they're not really staying. But because under the 2 years, you can just get rid of them at any point. So if you keep his notice period at 1 week in the contract, it's like, yes, you can have an open-ended contract and the notice period is 1 week until you get to 2 years. Then if you do need to terminate, you're only ever paying 1 week's pay. That's it. Right.
And you don't think there's any value in sort of, because otherwise he then thinks, oh, well, okay, it's fairly fixed and it's, it's hard. From my side, I think it's harder to deal with. I know obviously you're saying, you just say, right, that's it, I don't need you anymore. But
it's never that easy. I'm sorry, that was a bit blasé of me, but it's never that easy. But yeah, I see exactly what it is. Yeah.
So if I said to him, actually, well, I'll extend it for a month at the time being because I'm still thinking, it still means he doesn't set his mind into like, yeah, this is forever. He's still thinking, well, I'm not sure, sort of thing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, he should have in his contract, he's only been there for 3 months. I mean, you can have a probation period again.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have the
probation.
probation.
It hasn't got probation because it's a fixed contract.
Yes, but you could put it in the probation. You could have now another 6 months of probation, not another because you haven't had any, but you could have 6 months of probation because you can have probation going up to 2 years if you want to.
Right. So technically, if I changed him from the fixed contract to a full contract, I could say, right, well, we'll do that, but your probation will start from day one. It will be a 6 month probation.
Yeah, and during that probation, it's 1 week's notice on either side. That's it. And then you've got 6 months to see whether he's any good. And obviously at 5 months, or maybe earlier, but certainly at 5 months, you'd be going, right, do I want to keep him or do I want to part company?
Okay.
And that gives, so that the reason I'm saying that is I'm not against you doing the fixed month thing, but he's just going to keep going on and on about it. So going part the way while still giving you that freedom would make him hopefully shut up about it. And then you could see whether he was really any good.
Right. Yeah. So I think a very tightly managed 6 month probation starting from whenever we decide.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Melanie Drake, have you got a question? No, you're perfectly happy. She says, no, I'm not perfectly happy, but I've got no questions. That's fine. Okay. Lorraine, you okay?
Hello. We're looking at, we have a statutory maternity and paternity at the moment. We're looking to enhance it. And I just wanted to ask, if we enhance the maternity, should we be enhancing the paternity as well?
Yes.
Yes. And also with shared parental leave, I just wanted to understand how that works. Or is that too long a one?
Do that another time. It
Absolutely.
is it's really quite convoluted, and we've only had it once since it was introduced.
Okay.
Because I mean, you would have to enhance it as well, but not necessarily the whole time.
Okay.
You see, you'd be looking at what do you do for maternity, what do you do for paternity, and doing that. What I would say on maternity is well, it always depends on the people, but I would, a couple of our clients have had problems with people being paid more during maternity leave and then not coming back, but not having enough money to actually pay back what they should have paid back, because they have the clause in there that if you leave within 3 months, we'll claw it back. But if they're at the non-paid part of maternity leave and they give notice, there's no money to claim it back. You're not going to go after them in small claims court. That would just be silly. Okay, well, it just feels petty. Okay, that's all. So what we're suggesting is that you say there is going to be an enhanced payment for maternity or even paternity. And when you come back to work, you then get this bonus. I mean, one of our clients is doing it, that you get £500 extra for the first year that you're back at work, as long as you haven't given notice. So you could get an extra £6,000 if you come back after maternity. But if you leave while you're on maternity, you don't get anything. You just get statutory. So it's encouraging them to come back and keep working and not just come back and give notice.
Right, I see. Okay. All right. I'll have
it's just something to bear in mind, because usually people come back. Previously, our experience was people coming back, and then it's usually the private sector companies that do enhanced, and they've had a couple now where they've just gone. And it's like, this is not working so much anymore.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's great. I'll have a think. Thank you.
Yeah. Linda, have you got any questions, or are you happy?
That me?
Yes.
Hello there. Yeah. I'm just thinking of something that's likely to come up in the next few months. We have a sort of sprightly middle-aged to elderly cleaner who is going in for quite a major heart operation. So he will be off sick for a good 2 to 3 months, which is fine given the circumstances. But when he comes back, he's sort of 74, 75 age. When he comes back, there's a question mark as to whether he's going to be fit to actually do the job. It's not just cleaning, it's also general moving furniture and what have you around the club. So if you could give us a bit of advice on how to manage that returning to work and having that conversation with him, because or do we need to consult with a GP or something to get a proper review on his fitness to do the job?
Okay, so the first thing, I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. So he's going to have the operation and he'll be signed off sick, and he's obviously going to provide sick notes. Hopefully he'll recover well. Yes. He might not. It might be 4 or 5 months. He might not. He might decide he doesn't want to come back at all. So then that's solved. If he does come back, we would have a return to work meeting with him. Depending on how his recovery's gone, we might do it before he actually starts back to go through what do you feel you can do, what do you feel you can't do, and then adjust, because having a heart operation would count as a disability. Okay. And seeing what we can do, because he may well say, actually, I'd like to just work half days. Okay, so we will give you these activities to do, but there's also a cut in salary because you're doing those things. The other one is that if he's coming back and he's like, no, I can do everything, we're then just keeping an eye on making sure he is doing anything, but also one from the welfare side, but one from the performance side, so that we're making sure that he is doing what needs to be done. And if not, it's performance management, or to be honest, it's going to be a settlement agreement, because that's then 2 protected characteristics, age and disability. So it's like, actually, it's not working for us anymore. Here's your notice. Here's some tax-free money, and everybody moves on. So there's various ways we can deal with it. It's the first bit is making sure that we get the sick notes and see keep in touch with him while he's recovering, just by email or however we communicate with him normally. Say, hope you're feeling well, looking forward to seeing you back after whatever sick note expires. So and then we can see, depending on his individual situation, what we need to do. But absolutely, we can help you with that when we get closer to it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. The other one that I wanted to mention is about new staff coming in and not following the sickness absence procedure. So the sickness absence procedure for most of us is that you have a phone call at least an hour before your normal starting time. Now, if they don't do that, that is a potential disciplinary offence. Okay. Now, we wouldn't necessarily want to go into a full disciplinary, but you would need to sit down with them and say, okay, you're supposed to do this. Why didn't you do this? Now, what we've been hearing a lot lately, or this year, is that they've been saying, well, I get really anxious and I'm too anxious to call in. Okay. At that point, you need to document that you offer, or you need to offer them that they can send a text message, and they can get, they do tend to be younger people, they can get their parents to call in on their behalf. That's absolutely fine, as long as there is a phone call from them at some point that day. And you agree that with them. Okay, you don't necessarily tell them, but you agree, say, would it help if you could do this? You put it in writing, say, this is what we agreed you would do for your sickness absence going forward. And then if there is a problem with the sickness absence and the reporting, we have much more option to terminate employment early rather than having to go through full disciplinary processes, because we've already made the reasonable adjustments for a potential mental health condition. We've said we can do something different. You've still not done it. Now, depending on how bad the situation is, we might give them another chance and document that we're giving them another chance. But after that, we then say, look, you've got to report sickness absence. We've given you all these ways to do it that do not involve you actually speaking to a person. We understand that can be stressful, but you do have to tell us. If you're not telling us, we're going to have to part company, because if you're not doing that, what else are you not going to be able to do? So it's just that is the quicker way of doing it. It's got a little bit caught up in the past few months about the disciplinaries and everything, but we've been listening to one of the employment barristers, and he's like, no, as long as you've documented that you've given them a chance, maybe a second chance, but that's it. You don't need to go through that full disciplinary process. You can then go, look, gave you that, it's all documented, so actually we're terminating you. You do have to pay the notice still, but it's then, obviously, we're talking about in the probation period, usually these things are, they don't come after 18 months. It's usually very close to the beginning that we then part company and everybody can move on. But as always, if you do have that situation, give us a call, we'll talk it through, but it is going to be a lot quicker than what has been done so far this year, because we've now got the statement from the barrister that we're allowed to do that. So that's really good. Okay. It's slightly longer than last week, the call. But otherwise, if there's no other questions, I will leave you to go and do some settlement agreements with people. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.